Welcome back to IC Tune. We are on our fifth week of online lesson. I hope you're having a good week. We are going to review what we learned last week first, and then we are going to go on for new topics. So let's begin our lessons for this week. We're going to review what we learned last week. So I gave you an assignment of playing rhythm and then playing this rudiment in between as a fill-in. So I'm going to show you the first line, actually second line, because I showed you first line last week. I'm going to show you the second line, how you can put these in between the rhythm. Okay, so let me play for you. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and even though I only played the second line, you should play first, second, third, and fourth line, all of it as a fill-in in between. So that was our assignment, as well as putting the rhythm that we learned last week, which is 8-beat with 16-beat bass drum in between those fill-in. So you can practice those rhythm and these ad-lib fill-in at the same time. That was last week's assignment. Now we are going to learn a new type of stroke, but this is based on the last line of the rudiment that we did last week. Okay, so we're going to look at the last line first. If you look at the last line, it actually has the double stroke based rudiment rhythm. So if I play the first measure, it's going to be like, and then first 5 stroke, it actually has a name of it. Okay, so its name is 5 stroke. No surprise, right? It's just 5 stroke, 5 hitting the surface of the snare, and it's just called 5 stroke. Okay, so basically it's double, double, single with accent. That's what 5 stroke. Okay, and because it's an odd number, you are going to alternate your hand. So right, left, right, and then left, right, left. But when you play, to play faster, you have to increase the volume for each stroke. So what it means is the first one would be the very smallest one, and then getting louder gradually. Same thing with starting with left hand. So once you are used to it, you are going to make it lower and faster. And when you get even more familiar with it, then you are going to play like a roll. This is very useful when you play marching stuff. So let's say you are playing marching. I'm going to play bass and hi-hat, but this is just a basic pattern. So you are going to be looking at snare most likely. Okay. So if you play marching stuff, you are going to use 5 stroke and 9 stroke, which means that you are hitting 9 times with double stroke a lot of times when you play marching stuff. Okay. So to play this kind of stuff, you have to practice 5 and 9 stroke. If you cannot play those strokes, then you cannot play marching stuff. You can use single, you can use double, but there are certain limits unless you know this type of set of strokes that has been set up by people before already. So again, 5 stroke. And to explain to you, 9 strokes, same thing, but you are playing 9 times for each set. So you are going to increment volume as well, but the difference between each stroke has to be minimal so that you can keep louder until you hit that 9th stroke finally. So it's going to be. you play faster, it's basically longer version of 5-stroke. So that's the technique that we are learning for this week. We are going on for the new topic. So first topic will be 4-beat. So far we only played about 8-beat, which is that you're playing hi-hat with your right hand 8 times in the measure. So you can guess that this is 4-beat. You are going to play your hi-hat with your right hand 4 times in the measure. So if I count and play, it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then your bass drum goes at 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then your left hand goes on 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I combine all these three, it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Even though it sounds easy, when you're actually familiar with playing 8-beat, it could be hard for you to get familiar to this rhythm. So I suggest you to play slow at first and getting faster gradually. Okay, as well as 8-beat, you can put more bass drum onto this one as well. So if I put the same variation of 8-beat bass rhythm, it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. You are more than welcome to make your own bass rhythm and play with it, but if you cannot get a starting point to practice, then I suggest you to practice what I just did, the basic 8-beat variation of bass drum, and put it for the 4-beat. But one important thing is that at 8-beat, you are going to play hi-hat every time when you play bass. But for 4-beat, there are times that you are just playing your bass drum only without hi-hat. So think about when you're resting, when you're playing together. That's going to be key point for you to make a variation of bass drum at 4 beats. Okay, so when you play 4-beat, style-wise, it's called rock. And at church, most of praises that we play are pop and rock. So if you know this rhythm, you will be able to play most of the rock piece, which are usually at the fast tempo. Okay, so let me show you how it sounds when it becomes a real tempo. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. There could be even faster tempo than this. And to be honest, we play more of the songs and faster tempo than this when we play 4-beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the basic fill-in for this will be you're playing both hands at numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to play bass drum at end of 1, end of 2, and end of 3. So if I show you slowly, it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So for 4-beat, your homework for this week will be playing the basic rhythm and playing fill-in in between. So it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. Next topic that we're going to talk about is 16-beat. So this is more busier beat. So it could be two ways of playing. First way would be playing all the hi-hat with your right hand. So if I show you slowly, it's going to be like this. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and so you can see bass drum is at 1 and 3 again, and snare is at 2 and 4 again. So for whatever beat is, for every basic rhythm, you are going to play bass drum at 1 and 3, and snare drum at 2 and 4. Second variation of 16 beat is that you are going to play hi-hat with both hands. So let me show you a slow tempo one more time. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and so main difference between two is that when you're playing hi-hat with your right hand, only one hand, you are going to play snare at the same time you are hitting the hi-hat. But when you are using two hands to play 16 beat, you are going to leave hi-hat alone and play snare by itself. So it's going to sound a little different. But how you are going to distinguish when you are going to use either one of two is by the tempo. When you play slow tempo, you are more than welcome to play with one hand 16 beat. But when tempo gets faster and you cannot cover all 16 notes by one hand, then you are going to naturally change to two hands. Let's say tempo is like this, and you cannot possibly, it's going to be too much for you to play. So by then you are going to change for two hands 16 beat, and you're going to play. Which is much easier for you. Again, for the bass drum variation, you can add whatever rhythm that you want to add. But let me show you the 16 beat variation that we did last week. Okay, so it's going to be sound like this. One hand 16 beat first. 1, 2, 3E and 4E and and two hands. See when the bass drum plays, what hand is playing 16 beat. I'm going to play very slow, and you can repeat as much time as you need. But see, when we play bass drum, what hand is playing hi-hat at the same time. Okay, 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E 4E. I got a little messed up in the middle, but you see what I mean. Okay, so when you play a hi-hat, actually all the numbers and of the numbers are playing by right hand. So if I play left hand on my thigh, it's going to sound like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And if I play left hand on this hi-hat, it's going to be 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and So what I mean by that is that when you play bass drum on the beat of and or number, then you are going to play your right hand with your bass drum at the same time. But when you're placing bass drum in between the number and, such as E and then you are going to play bass drum with your left hand. 1E and So last time when we were having an assignment of writing rhythm, you were placing bass drum in between the hi-hat, right? Those bass drum will be playing with your left hand. Okay, for the 4 beat and 8 beat, you don't have to worry about those because you are always playing with your right hand. But for the 16 beat, especially for two hand 16 beat, you are going to change those setup of your body. For the fill-ins for the 16 beat, we are going to talk about in more detail version next week. This is it for today's lesson. I know that we have learned a lots of new rhythms, but these are basically it for church, what we play at church. Okay, sometimes you play 8-beat, sometimes you play 4-beat, sometimes you play 16th. So regarding the mood of the music and the speed of the music, you are going to choose what kind of rhythm that you are going to play. Okay, so hopefully we can remember all these rhythms, and you will be able to use this for the church later or somewhere else when you play this. Okay, hope you stay safe and healthy. Also, please practice, and I'm going to see you next week with the 6th week of lesson for Isaac Kim. Thank you.